Welcome to K-Drama School. I'm your host, Grace Jung, and class is now in session. Today is a special day because it is the first Monday of the AAPI Heritage Month. The Asian Pacific American Heritage Month began in 1977 when Congress proclaimed the first 10 days of May to AAPI Heritage Recognition, Remembrance, and Celebration, but it did not get passed. And then in 1978, they tried again, and then President Jimmy Carter signed a bill that same year, which allowed the first 7 days of May to be Asian Pacific American Heritage Week. And then in 1992, Congress expanded this to make May AAPI Heritage Month. All right, so the month of May is AAPI Heritage Month. So happy AAPI Heritage Month to you all. May is the month for this commemoration because the first Japanese immigrants came to the U.S. in early May of 1843, and because the Transcontinental Railroad, which was built by Chinese immigrants, was completed on May 10th, 1868. So this month, I am going to highlight conversations I've had with other Asians. Some are here in the States, others are not. Today, I'm going to talk about a 2003 SBS hit K-drama called All In. It's a K-drama that broke a lot of the typical soapy expectations. First of all, it's a very male-centric show. The female characters are basically empty shells and vessels in this program, all except for maybe one side character who happens to be the daughter of a very successful entrepreneur. Her name is Jin-hye, played by Park Sol-mi. So Song-kyo is the female protagonist on the show, but she's ridiculously passive, and she has all the works of a female K-drama protagonist, like being an orphan and being of working class, but she doesn't have a quippy, funny, conventionally unattractive sidekick. Instead, what she has is a nun. And even though Song-kyo has all these odds stacked up against her, she doesn't really overcome them with this strong, empowered female gusto like you do in a lot of these other shows. She kind of lets her male protagonist kind of save her and rescue her throughout. Or he just wreaks havoc in her life. And that's the one maybe consistent thing with the other shows. Lee Byung-hun is really the main character of All In's plot. Okay, he plays In-ha in the show All In, and it's actually, this show is actually loosely based on the life and times of Korean-American high roller poker player Jimmy Cha. All right, the show is a fascinating history of the late 1970s, early 1980s South Korea as its economic development started to gain steam, and you see very clearly that this period was when businesses were intermixed with the underworld of gangsters and gambling. There will always be that initial phase of socioeconomic shock, destructiveness, and problems when a poor nation suddenly encounters money. Gangsters and thugs ruled the streets back then, and any kid with fighting potential was fair game for other gangsters and thugs to recruit. In the case with In-ha, he had a very good head on his shoulders, and because he's been helping his uncle cheat at Hwatu games, since he was a youngster, he turns out later to have this preternatural ability to figure out card games instinctively, and he knows how to win. But despite his talents, because he's part of that underworld, he keeps getting pulled back into it. So this show very much has the influences of New York gangster films, like Carlito's Way, Serpico, Donnie Brasco. Anything with Al Pacino, basically, right? The great irony is that the gangsters in this Korean drama are told by their head honcho to watch and study the Godfather film franchise by Francis Ford Coppola. Isn't that something? If you haven't seen the movie The Act of Killing, which is a documentary by Joshua Oppenheimer, please check it out. You'll see how and why people become detached from the action of killing. It's because in their minds, it's only an act. It's like emulating a movie star in a violent scene in a movie that glamorizes killing and violence. Say what you will about thugs and gangsters, but you know that most movies frame them with magnetism and charisma. It's just how they do. It's only when you finally connect your actions to your actual thoughts, your real feelings, that's when you realize your own inhumanity or humanity, right? So, this is why mindfulness is so important. It's to connect you to your most human self so that you won't be able to wreak havoc in other people's lives. Those who are constantly putting themselves in harm's way, including self harm, will be more susceptible to harming others. So, let's remember to be kind to ourselves. Anyway, check out All In. It's got a lot of drama, pathos, history. If you've read that book, Pachinko by Min-jin Lee, you probably know the history of the pachinko business that Koreans got into. It comes from Japan, and it's the underworld back in Korea, the pachinko gambling business. It was a major part of that. And that aspect of the Korean business industry also comes up in this show as well. Today, I talked to a comedian named Walter Hong. He's based in Orange County, but I worked with him last year during the pandemic when we all had an all Korean language show at the Laugh Factory through Instagram Live. That was really interesting, speaking into the ether with no laughter. Walter is very funny, but I genuinely enjoyed talking to him because of his mind. And he says a lot of interesting things. He processes ideas in a way that's very surprising and engaging. And I had a lot of fun talking to Walter.
I'm sleepy. I started waking up early. It's been 2 days. So
Oh,
I got up at 5:45 the last 2 days.
oh, you're like an old man.
Yeah. But the thing is that I haven't been getting up like that. Are you on Clubhouse by any chance?
Uh-huh.
So you know how like you're on it like all day and night? And so I started sleeping late.
Okay.
And then but then I've been kind of decreasing my Clubhouse time. So
Mm,
I was getting up early, and then today's Tuesday. So then yesterday, I don't know, like I just woke up like at 5:40, and then I
yeah.
just stayed up. And then so
Hmm. Do you do shows on Clubhouse? Is that why you're always on, or are you just like,
no, because I live alone. So I just been in isolation for like a year, for literally about a year. And then
hmm.
like yeah, the only people I talk to are my parents and the grocery store cashier.
Oh my God.
That's
You
about
don't
it.
you don't like but I mean you like call your friends and like text them and shit like that, right?
Yeah, we text. We don't call. Boys don't call. That gets weird.
You don't call at all?
Hmm. Boys don't call each other. At least at my age. I don't know about like younger ones, but
Yeah.
my we don't.
Boys your age don't call.
Yeah,
Okay.
unless it's like, yo, where are you? Like, what's taking you so long?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
about it.
The
We don't.
phrase, "Yo, where are you?"
Yeah, there's no like, hey, like or like, yo, how you doing? You know, what'd you do today? And it's like, what? Who is this? Yeah, we don't do that. So
Yeah.
yeah, but we do text. We have a group cacao chat.
Right.
Um, and then like they come over sometimes
Hmm.
because I have a little front courtyard area,
Yeah.
but it's not the same because you
Mm,
know in the summer it was okay because it's warm, but like in the winter it's
sure.
cold. So
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. No, that
yes,
sucks.
yes,
I
Clubhouse has been good.
Okay. I am on Clubhouse, but I don't know how to use it. I don't know how it works. Um PK was like doing a Clubhouse like Laugh Factory show thing.
Uh-huh.
So I popped in for a second and it was like so overwhelming that I left. It freaked me out and I just left.
Yeah, I don't really do the rooms or I don't go into the rooms where there's like hundreds of people or sometimes
Yeah.
thousands of people.
Shit.
It's just too much. There's just too much going on.
Yeah. It's a
So I
lot.
usually go to the smaller ones.
Okay. Like what?
Well, so like we actually found a group of friends, which is really funny. So
Like
we
people
made
you
friends.
know.
No, like I didn't know them before. We just made
You
friends on
made
Clubhouse.
friends.
And it just so happened that everyone is pretty much similarly like-minded in
Yeah.
the sense like we're not out to be bullies because there's a lot of bullying as like passed off as jokes going on.
Okay, yeah.
Uh, and then but like we're not like that, and we're all just really like nice to each other.
Okay.
But like not in a fake way, but it just kind of in a friendship way.
In a
And
genuine way.
yeah, yeah.
In a way to
And
be supportive.
totally. And we actually met up.
Hmm.
So three people flew in from out of state, one from Washington, one from Texas, and one from New York.
Oh my
And we
God.
actually met up in LA. And then the people that live in Korea, that part of our group got jealous, so they did a meetup in
Oh,
Korea. So we have
fascinating.
about 20 people.
Oh my God, you made buddies.
Yeah, totally. And we all talk about like how lucky we were to have met each other first. Because had we like met other groups of people, I
Yeah,
don't think it would have been nearly the same.
it was timing.
Totally. Yeah, because there's some chat rooms you go into and people are just mean to each other. And then others, they're very like, it's very shallow. And nothing wrong against being shallow, but like, it's just kind of like surface, which is
Yeah,
fine because, it's just what you put into it.
sure.
And we just happen to all be of like-minded kind of input and investment. Um, and then, there's some rooms that you go into that like guys are just trying to pick up on girls. Like any girl that comes in, they try to hit on them and they're like, creepy and
Okay,
whatnot. So we don't have any of those guys. Like there's no
okay.
guys like that in our group. Like no one's creepy. Um,
Yeah.
everyone's
Okay.
genuine.
And respectful and
Mhm.
decent, and that is amazing. I'm
Yeah.
so happy you found that, that's like how do I say? Like old school pure internet AIM kind of experience, like before AIM became like
Yeah.
a sex predator place.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
funny because now, like, I mean, because I go to Korea, or I used to go to Korea before the pandemic frequently,
Yes.
and so like now I have a handful of friends there, but
Yes.
now like I have more because of Clubhouse. Um, you know,
Okay. So
uh,
you've been connecting like more with like the Koreans like via Clubhouse or
yeah. So I don't know exactly how Clubhouse algorithm works.
okay.
I know part of it is your contact list,
Uh-huh.
and like what groups, like what interests you have. But
Okay.
I think from the get go, like when I first joined.
Yeah.
It was more of a diverse kind of like the rooms that would come up in I forgot what they call it. It's not a news feed.
Like a
I forgot
roster
what
or
they
something.
called it. They call it.
Okay.
I forget what they call it. But anyhow, um, they or the lobby. I think they call it the lobby. I forget. Anyhow,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
um, it was pretty diverse.
Mm.
But then now, because most of it is people I follow,
Mm-hmm.
and they happen to be. I mean, it's mostly Koreans, but or Asians, but it's
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty diverse. But
Yeah.
still, it's most of the rooms are like Asian centric
Got it.
or Korean centric.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, they don't have a lot of these rooms now, but in the beginning, they had a lot of like native Korean and Kyoto rooms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, there was one that was really fun where it was we could only speak Korean,
Uh-huh.
and it was all Kyopos, so all of our Korean was bad, and people were embarrassed, but everyone's like, no, don't worry about it because we all suck. And then there were native Koreans that were listening, that they were fascinated by it. Um,
Yeah. That's
I mean,
amazing.
a couple guys came in to make fun of us, and they
Okay.
were kicked out immediately. But the ones
Oh.
that were just like, we never hear you guys speak like this,
Mm.
and so it
Mm-hmm.
was nice to hear you guys like just kind of like comfortably speak. And so for them,
Yeah.
it was a good thing. But I
And it's
think,
a treat. Yeah, it's rare. Like
yeah,
when would they ever get that opportunity? Yeah. It's like for them it's like traveling. Yeah.
yeah, without having to actually travel.
Yeah.
Um, and then, but I heard it evolved into kind of like a very antagonistic room,
Hmm.
where people were just like kind of making fun of Native Koreans, and it
Hmm.
kind of, because when we were doing it, it was literally we were just talking to each other in Korean, like,
Sure.
"Hey, where are you from? Like, what do you
Right.
do for work?
Uh-huh.
Like, how are things over there?" And then we were just all doing it in Korean, like saying in Korean.
Uh-huh.
But I had heard that like other iterations of it had evolved into like kind of being demeaning and condescending, and
Well,
so
that's so interesting. So then let me ask you this, like, what do you think? Because I mean, you go in there with this open heart and good intention, no baggage, right? Like
mhm,
no chip on your shoulder. You go in and you try to have this genuine, open-hearted, connective kind of moment with these essentially strangers, right?
mhm,
But then
yeah.
you guys open up and you connect and you bond and you become friends. So you have that, but then at what point does it turn sour? Like like where does that come from? How does it happen? Why does it go there? Like I'm just do you have thoughts on that?
For me personally or in
Yeah.
general?
Yeah, I guess for you personally, because I mean, we only know Walter, right?
That's
Right
true,
now.
true. It is true.
Yeah.
And I am the most important
Yeah.
protagonist in my life.
Yeah.
Uh, for me, it would start to go sour when people are mean to each other.
Okay.
Like, especially because we're strangers.
Sure.
If we're all close friends or good friends, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which one's higher,
Yeah.
um, then we're making fun of each other. That's cool
Yeah.
because we all have an understanding.
Mm-hmm.
But when people are strangers and they kind of under the umbrella of I'm just joking, they're mean. For me,
Right.
I'm just kind of like, you know what? I don't need to be a part of this, especially by nature of what we do.
Yeah.
That's really easy for me, and I don't want to. For me personally, I don't want to put that out there.
Right. In
Um,
this particular space.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, that's when it sours, like room sour for me.
Right.
When they get, yeah, and it's not personal. And I don't interpret what they do as being personal, like a personal
Mm-hmm.
attack. But just for
Yes.
me, I don't need to be in that kind of environment,
Mm-hmm.
especially by nature of what we do.
Yes.
And because then for me, it's just like, yeah, I don't need, this. Because then if it gets really, if we really get into it, then I'm gonna win every single time, and it's just and then they'll turn on me, and they'll say
Right.
you're really mean,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like no, I'm doing the same thing you guys are doing, but just at a completely different level. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't even involve myself with it.
Don't
Um,
engage. Yeah.
yeah, I don't even
Why
do that.
why fuck up your own day by
Yeah, exactly.
engaging with amateur hour? And
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, it's like those kinds of people, and I think to a degree, all of us have been that person at one point in our lives, and we will continue to be that person at some point because we are human. And I'm not saying just in like the social media sphere. I'm talking like, like when we're driving on the road and like
Hmm.
we're just in a bad mood and some guy cuts us off and we're just like, are you fucking kidding? Right?
Yeah.
It's like all of those moments are actually a choice we have,
Hmm.
right? To react to that with horror, nightmare, anger, or just not react and
Yeah.
be like, have this moment of mindfulness and be like,
Hmm.
whatevs, man. Like maybe they didn't see me. Maybe they're in a rush, whatever it is. There was like something he's a graduate student and he said this. He's actually a Chinese international student, so like of course he said this, right? Like the Chinese are so like in tune sometimes with their spiritual sense of being, and he was like, everybody has good intentions. Everybody wants to do good. And like I think that's like a fundamental like Buddhist philosophy actually. Like
Hmm.
whenever anybody's being anything, like you are being you right now, I'm being me right now. We're all being our absolute possible best in this present moment, including the times when we're fucking shit up, you know? No, whatever it is, we're still doing our absolute best in that moment, right? The next moment it might change. It's like you could have done a little better back there or whatever, or you could have changed something, but that's later. It's like in the present moment everybody's doing their absolute best. And like when my aunt, my maknae imu in Korea, when she told me this, because I was like complaining about her brothers like talking shit about like my weight and my looks and whether I'm married or not. And I was like, man, I was like, if like samchun들 come at me this time, I'm gonna fucking give it to them. And she was like, okay, but one thing to keep in mind is like everybody's doing their best. And I think what she was just trying to say is, you know, they don't get it. They're not where you're at, like in terms of your own experiences and your own um, issues or hangups or challenges. And so how could they know?
Hmm.
So she was just like, if that is tormenting you and you want to start a conflict, that is your choice, but it's also a choice to be like, okay, this is all they know right now. You
Hmm.
know, do I want to engage with that and make it a teaching moment or make it a fight or make it something or not? And I was like, at the time, I didn't get it. That was like 3 years ago. I was like, nah, fuck that shit. But like now, I think the pandemic did a lot to us. Now I fully understand what she's saying, and I understand that it's a choice.
Yeah, and I think because only because you mentioned that it was a Chinese graduate student that I brought maybe because I'm aged now.
Yeah.
I can't really say I'm old because obviously there's a lot of people older than me. But I'm
Yeah.
aged now, and so for
Yes.
me, it's a very college point of view, and I say
Mm-hmm.
that not to be demeaning or condescending,
Yeah.
but in the sense of sorry, I should turn this off. But in the sense of like, there's still that perspective is still full of hope.
Yeah, it is.
When you're in college, you're full of hope, like you're going to change the world.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you realize either you realize you can't, or you realize you don't care anymore, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Um, I don't, I wouldn't subscribe. For me, I don't personally subscribe that everyone's doing their best because
Mm-hmm.
I've seen so many people that love doing the worst
Mm-hmm.
and love bringing out the worst in other people.
Mm-hmm.
But I do subscribe to the fact that there are people out there
Mm-hmm.
that are trying to do their best. Like I do,
Mm-hmm.
like to bring up police officers. I
Mm-hmm.
think for the most part, police officers, they want to help people,
Mm-hmm.
but we only hear about the ones that don't, and
Mm-hmm.
they do the other extreme where they kill people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think with people, yeah, I think for the most part, people want to do good,
Mm-hmm.
but I also think that there are those that just love and relish
Yeah.
causing and creating harm and havoc uh,
Yeah.
on people.
Yeah.
And I know with Koreans, because culturally, it's cultural to ask a girl when they're going to get married, to
Mm-hmm.
talk about their weight, to talk about their looks.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's moving away from that, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
women are fighting back. And so
Mm-hmm.
now I think if you ask a woman when they're getting married, or if they're married, it's a
Mm-hmm.
big taboo now.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do, and you can't even go as far as to say like, oh, if you do these things, that I'll do these things because I'm a man. You can't say that
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Like I got in trouble for that,
Hmm.
and I wasn't even talking about anyone else. I was just talking about me.
Yeah. What
Okay?
were you saying?
So I was saying, oh, I was gonna, oh, they said like, oh, isn't it too spicy for you? I'm like,
Uh,
no, I'm a man, and they're, oh, you can't say that. Like it's not viewed on as very, it's not viewed very positively. And so Korea is, I think, and of course, with us being human, we love overcorrecting. And
yes.
so I don't think in Korea there are gradual changes. It's just more like from here to boom. Like they took Me Too and they went with it, and it under Me Too was included. Don't ask women when they're getting married. Don't talk about like weight. Don't talk about looks and all these things. But it's funny. The irony is that women have no problem telling people, "Oh yeah, she's ugly" or "He's ugly." They have no
Mm-hmm.
problem with that. But when it's turned
Yeah.
on them, it's like, "Oh hey hey hey, no 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 no
Yeah.
no, like this, you can't do this."
I think because women were just objectified for so long and they're still objectified and they're still like, sexually assaulted, blah, blah, blah. And so when the
Hmm.
lid opens and there's this rawness right beneath and all they have is reactivity,
Yeah,
then what you have is just everybody's uncomfortable.
yeah,
And I see some limitations to Me Too. I think Me Too is just a very shallow start. What comes after? Whenever I ask all the feminists, any feminists I encounter, including academics, I'm like, what comes after Me Too? Nobody really has a clear answer, and that drives me insane because it's like if you want to integrate change with the men,
hmm,
we need to ask them, what do you think constitutes a good man? What do you think constitutes a real man? What do you think constitutes a bad man?
hmm,
What do you think constitutes the grays in
yeah,
between these kinds of men? Because that's the fucking reality. And when I say that this Chinese graduate student said that everybody has good intentions, and when I say that, Buddhism says everybody's doing their best in their moment, I don't mean it more like in this kind of naivete, optimistic light, because that's another category. That's like a Western category. I mean it in this Eastern doctrine, as in all sentient beings are loved, right? Like all sentient beings are loved because they are sentient beings. That's it. Nobody needs conditions for these things. But we forget that oftentimes because we live in a world, we have a psychological sense of ego, and we have trauma, we have war, we have guns, we have nightmares, right? And so these things that build and we become protective of ourselves, that sometimes creates misfires in our brains. It creates these kinds of like interruptions when something is coming in, and the reception becomes changed in our minds based on our experiences, and that we react negatively or in a like a conflict kind of way. So what I mean by doing our best, and that Chinese student saying everybody has good intentions, is even when we're at our absolute fucking worst, right? When we're screaming at some woman, being like, why the fuck did you fuck up my fucking sandwich, you stupid cunt? When we're doing that, we're still doing our absolute best in the objective kind of spiritual Eastern doctrine sense. Like, she went through some kind of thing, right? Whatever it was, like whatever the instances, those patterns of moments, whatever her day was, whatever her year was, whatever her lifetime was, and like something went berserk, and now this is explosively coming out, which is also, again, it's her choice to not react to her past traumas. But like, whenever I find myself yelling at somebody, I'm not yelling at them and whatever they did. I'm yelling at like my dad, you know? I'm yelling at something that some asshole did 5 years ago. I'm yelling at my boss who was really like brutally unfair and racist and sexist and whatever. I'm yelling at those people in my past, in my mind. I'm not yelling at this particular person who did this fuck up. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean when I say we're doing our absolute best. And that includes the shittiest people on earth. And that's really a tough thing for Westerners to swallow. And Westerners, I include you and me, because we grew up in America. We're Korean Americans. It's something really difficult for us to swallow, because that is very antithetical to Western thinking, which is show me the goods. In America, you got to show the goods. Mm-hmm. That's why we are materialistic and capitalist and consumerist and Christian and all of that shit. And it's stuff that I'm trying to decolonize myself from and detox myself from, like, every day. But it's hard. It's hard to do that. It's hard to not react to our pains. Which actually brings me to this. Like, I don't know, how was last week for you, if you don't mind me asking? And you don't have to answer if it's like a pain in the ass or whatever.
I'm not gonna lie to you. For a quick second, I was like, last week, I don't even remember what I did last week. And then I realized what you're talking about. How is it for me? You know, generally, I tend not to comment on current events. Yeah. Generally. Mm-hmm. I do maybe, like, at best here and there. I don't really, I tend not to, because I feel like okay, if I was one of 5 yellow people in the U.S., I would probably comment on every current event that happens with Asian people. Mm-hmm. But there's so many more prominent, bigger, larger statured yellow people that I don't feel it imminently necessary to comment, because what's like, if whatever I write, it's already out there, like 10, 20 times. If not hundreds of times. Yeah. So I don't really find the need to add to it. And of course, I would hope that I have enough benefit of the doubt where people know that, I think the same way as all these people do. If I write something, it's something that I haven't seen before. Okay. Then I'll write something. But I'm not one of those people. Like, my personality isn't something that, like, like, hey, we got to write something, and so let's just, even if it's the same thing, let's just put it out there. Like, I'm not wired that way. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great. I'm thrilled that everyone's coming together. Not everyone, but like most people are coming together and doing all these things. So for me last week, apart from the perceived or actual hatred of yellow people from the guy that shot and killed the 8 people, apart from like the alleged sex addiction and all that, for me was the unnecessary loss of lives. Because the sex stuff, the Asian stuff, is all, to me, window dressing. For me, the deeper issue is that one person upended multiple families' lives, if not 20, down to 100, even to 100 families' lives, just from one person, one decision that that person made to go and shoot people. Um, and that to me, the ease at which this person did it and the access that this person had to be able to do this, that to
Mm-hmm.
me is something that I kind of more dwelled on,
Mm-hmm.
which is not to say I didn't dismiss the fact that 6 of 8 were yellow people.
Yeah.
I didn't dismiss the fact that they were at I know they're calling them spas now, but
Mm-hmm.
and I don't even know that they're massage parlors because these women were in their 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
I don't know, I have no idea, but I do
Yeah.
know that that area does
Mm-hmm.
have massage parlors.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the time of day it was. I have no idea, so I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to like speculate.
Yeah.
Um, I could facetiously and jokingly say, "Oh yeah, they're massage parlors, and whatnot," but whatever. Aside from all
Mm-hmm.
that, to me, that's all window dressing. Important is very vital and important window dressing.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's more that the lives were lost. And
Yeah.
I think when the white people are saying that, oh, it's not a hate crime, and they're arguing to their faces turn blue that it's not a hate crime, none of them are talking about how 8 lives were lost.
Yeah.
They're so honed in and focused on the race issue, and I understand why they are, but they're not talking about how the lives were lost, how eight
Yeah.
lives. And the ones that are saying that, oh, it's not a hate crime because 2 non-Asians died.
Right.
Okay, look,
Right.
we can split hairs, even though I don't think this is splitting hairs, but
Yeah.
to me it's the ease at which lives are lost. And then yesterday, 10 people died in
I
Colorado.
know. Can't
Um,
stop.
yeah, all that stuff. I just for me we know. And then when anything like this happens, it's always like, oh, we need gun control, or we need this, we need that. And you were speaking earlier about Eastern and Western philosophies that are different. One thing medically is that for Eastern medicine, they go for the root of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of like Oriental medicine goes in
Mm-hmm.
for the root of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Western medicine is more symptomatic. That's
Mm-hmm.
why our pharmaceutical companies are so big
Yeah.
and wealthy, because
Yeah.
we like to treat symptoms rather than the root.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
with all of, and because we're so ingrained with symptomology, we
Mm-hmm.
like to talk about gun control
Exactly.
rather than getting to the root of the issue, whatever
I
it may
know.
be. I don't
Yeah.
know what the roots. With the guy that killed the 8 people and the guy that killed 10 yesterday, I don't know what their root issues are. I don't know what the telltale signs are. And we like to we love buying big brushes to paint everything, all issues with just one surefire method, and we can't do that.
Yep.
Everyone's different.
Yep.
Everyone requires their own kind of
Mm-hmm.
tailored uh, help. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, to me, last week was about the lives that were lost and the immediate families that were affected. I don't know if you had read what the son of one of the women that passed away
Mm-hmm.
wrote
Of
about his
Hyun
mom.
Kim. Yep.
Yeah. And for me, apart from him being Korean, apart from him
Mm-hmm.
being Asian, and I know we relate, we feel a closer relation because we're Asian, and also more so because we're Korean,
Mm-hmm.
and we feel like we know how he's growing up and how he grew up because
Mm-hmm.
we're also Korean. Apart from all of that, a son lost his mother,
Mm-hmm.
and that's at the end of the day, that's what it is. And we want to dress it up as like, oh, we need to feel even more upset, angry, and saddened because he or she is Korean. It's like, yes, okay. And I say I disagree with that, but I agree with the fact that we have a stronger bond. But the fact that someone lost their mother, regardless of what
Mm-hmm.
race they are, is what kind of weighed on me the most
Mm-hmm.
last week. And then now, like, so in 2 weeks, 18 people have died. Hundreds of families are going to be affected by this. Secondarily and tertiarily, it's probably could be endless because of the fact that who knows what these people would have accomplished or not accomplished or would have done, and what paths they would have crossed with other people to do an act of kindness, or to, like, you, to your point, making that choice to, hey, you know what, I'm not going to be mean today, and
Mm.
I'm going to be nice, and
Yeah.
how that could have affected that person, and we'll never know.
Yeah.
All because these two individuals decided that they're going to kill people that day.
Exactly.
Um, and
Which is horrible. Yeah. And I
yeah,
agree. Like, what is the root problem of that? I don't know. And I think those are big questions because we need to ask them, we need to figure that out. This is, if it's a malaise, if it's a problem, then there are resolutions, there are cures. And I don't know, one thing that kind of drifted through my mind yesterday, like as the bolder like details were starting to emerge, I was like, I love America
Hmm.
because it is so free. It is so fucking free, right? I mean, you've been to South Korea, you know how fucking um, oppressive it can be at times, despite the amazing things that South Korea has to offer, or like other countries. Like I have an interview at Singapore later this month, and I'm like dreading the possibility of Singapore because they're squares. Come on. Uh, so I'm like, America is so free and liberating, and it pains me that it is so fucking free that anybody can go and just grab a gun. That is like so painful to me that it
Yeah.
has to be that free. It's like, do we need guns for liberty anymore?
Yeah. I understand the Second Amendment proponents, like the support that. I understand it. I just the way I look at it is this: Will Smith, who I'm sure you know, when he was 21 or 22, he was on top of the world. At
Yeah,
that time, his world.
yeah.
I think he had just won his he was the first, I think, rap artist to win a Grammy at the time,
Mm,
and I think
wow.
he either had Fresh Prince of Bel Air or he was
Mm-hmm.
on his way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
He had, I think, three or four cars,
Mm,
and he invited his dad over to his place, and
mm-hmm.
his dad like, "Why do you need four cars? You only have
Mm.
one butt." That's kind of how I look at guns. If you
Yeah,
have three, four, five guns, okay, fine. You have two
yeah.
hands. Your wife or your husband has two hands. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
But when people have 100 guns
Mm-hmm.
in your life, you will
Mm-hmm.
never use all of them in one day. Like
Mm-hmm.
there'll never be. And even if you could, I know one community. I forget the person's name. They say, "I know you guys are talking about guns because we have the right to bear arms, and if the government, whatever, there's a coup or if whatever, martial law."
Mm-hmm.
This comedian said the U.S. government has tanks.
Right.
So, and my thing with guns is that if I have 100 guns in my house and it's just me, and if people come to attack me, they have 100 people with one gun,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll get to me a lot faster than I can shoot my 100 guns. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my thing with guns.
Mm-hmm.
I attribute that to Will Smith's dad. Is how many
Mm.
butts do you have, and how many hands do we have that we
I
can
like
shoot?
that though. I like that. I like that concept a lot because what it's pointing to is sort of the excess part, the
Yeah.
gluttonous part of our country. Like, I watched, you know, that Dr. Bronner's soap, right? The peppermint soap with the blue label. It has like all
Mhm.
these, like, yeah, the hippie soap. I watched the documentary called Dr. Bronner's Magic Soapbox. It's like a hilarious movie. That Dr. Bronner guy is such a character. But all of the CEOs of that company capped their salary for like 40 times the lowest paid employee of that
Oh, it's
company.
nice.
And
Yeah.
any excess profit they make, it all goes to donations, you know,
Hmm.
to help people get, you know, sanitary products, to help with research for mental illness with psychedelic drugs, to help with environmental awareness issues and environmental support. And I'm like, that is so fucking beautiful. And that did come from America. I mean, the Dr. Bronner was a German emigre, but you know, he's like got three generations, and they're all like this aware, this mindful, and this um, yeah, self conscious, and they do good. They apply good, and the flip side of that is like, you know, when we see like people like Jeff Bezos, you know, it's like literally like a fucking trillionaire
Yeah.
versus an Amazon worker who drops off packages door to door every single day, getting paid nothing even close to
Yeah.
that. And what could have Bezos done if he had kept his salary at 40% of what this Amazon employee makes, and all that excess profit going to good causes in the world? Like,
Yeah.
what could have happened? What kind of transformation could have happened? And so, yeah, it's like, again, that's sort of the antithesis of America. Is like, on the one hand, it's so liberal, it's so free, you know, and it's so beautiful because of it. But because it's so liberal and so free, anybody can shove anything down their into their bodies and be whatever they want, and that includes these so-called quote unquote monsters,
Yeah.
right?
Like,
Anyway, yeah.
there's good points to thinking of me, myself, and I first. There are good points to that,
Yeah. Yes.
positive points. But
Yes.
I think come, we've dove so far deep into me, myself, and I
Uh-huh.
that we can't even signal when we're making lane changes in our car because
Mm.
the first response is, why should I signal? You should know that I'm
Yeah.
making a lane change. But that little attitude shift of why should I signal, that gets blown up into the wealth gap, because it's
Yeah.
like, wait, why should I give up part of my
Hmm.
salary so that this person can make a little bit more money? There's one guy, I forget his name, I wish I knew. He has long blonde hair. He's in tech, and he was making millions of dollars as a CEO. And they did a survey. I think he initiated it. He wanted to know like the demographics of his employees, and he was shocked to find out only like less than 10%, like far less than 10% owned a home.
Mm.
And he was shocked to find that out. And then so he decided, I'm gonna make, and I forgot what his salary is. I want to
Mm.
say it went down to maybe $70,000 or something like that.
Wow.
And he spread his wealth out to his employees. And then after I think like 5 or 10 years, 30 to 40% of his employees owned homes, and
This
they've
is
got.
that credit card guy, right? I
I don't know.
think
I forgot
he's like
what
a
his
credit
company
card
does.
CEO. I've heard of this guy. He's like a young man, a
Yeah,
very young man.
he's in
Yeah,
his
yeah, yeah.
20s, like maybe.
I've read this article. I think he has like some kind of a credit finance kind of company of some sort. But
Yeah,
I love that story too. And that's
yeah,
this similar kind of story.
yeah. Because it's about, for me, to him. I'm guessing here,
Yeah.
but to me, for him, at the end of the day, it's about the people.
Mm.
Granted, it's a small percentage of people, but it's the entirety of his company. It's about the people. At the end of the day, it's about people. Because for these other guys, Bezos, Zuckerberg, who are all
Hmm.
these big, guys that are making billions of dollars, for them, at the end of the day, it's about their bank account
Right.
and what they see.
Right.
I'm sure they give money. That's fine.
Yeah.
How much? If you want to do percentage, I don't know. I don't even think it's a drop in the bucket. It's probably like a speck in the bucket, and that's fine. I don't. I have a hard time dictating what people do with their money. Like
Sure.
you'll rarely, if ever, hear me say, "Oh, I think
Yeah.
Bezos should do this with his money."
Yeah. It's not
No,
really our
if he wants,
business. Yeah.
yeah, if he wants to, keep all his money and buy islands, that's all him. That's
Hmm.
fine.
Hmm.
However, there is something to your employees barely being able to live above the poverty line while
Yeah.
you're reaping all the benefits of their work. Um, in Iceland, their income gap is very narrow. From what I understand, I think on average CEOs make just 30% more. And so there, when you eat there, each meal is $50 to $100, breakfast, lunch, dinner. This is
Hmm.
a dinner for sure is about $100 at
Yeah.
the least. It's because they can all afford it.
Yeah.
They're all making a decent wage. And
And they have like a really equal sense of like gender laws. Like men get time off as fathers, women get time off as mothers. They're all paid.
yeah,
They have like a very decent kind of social, almost like a neo-socialist kind of perspective, even though they are a market economy.
yeah, and because it's at the end of the day, it's about the people. And I know
Yeah,
some
they
people may
care.
say, yeah, exactly. And then that's the part that I wanted to stress, is that I know people may hear me say, "Oh, he's probably one of those socialists." I'm not a socialist, but
Yeah,
I care. I think
they
people, if they
care.
care how others live, I think back to the very first point we were talking about is we might be having a bad day, and if we like pour out our anger on someone, that
Yeah,
causes them to have a bad day, and it trickles
exactly.
down.
It
But
fucks them up.
if we're having a good day because we get paid enough to live, paid
Uh-huh.
enough to put a roof over our heads, provide clothes for our children, and be able to buy something nice for people that we care about, and we're having a good day, we're less likely to get upset, and we're
And
less
grab a
likely.
gun and go shoot somebody's head off.
Exactly.
Like, if we have our basic needs met, if we have our basic needs met, if we have our basic human rights recognized as an
Hmm.
individual, this is like regardless of race or gender or, class or whatever. It's like regardless, just as a human being, if we have those things met, then we will be balanced people, you
I
know?
think, yeah,
Yeah. And actually, Dante Chang, yeah?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, I was hanging out with him and Gina Ni, and they were like, oh, like we're kind of hungry, like we want like kimbap or something. But they were kind of they were working, and I was like, oh, I could like. I'm not doing anything right now. I'm just hanging out. I could just like rush over to K-Town and pick something up for you guys. No problem. We'll just
Uh-huh.
like have kimbap together. And then they were like, yeah, I don't know. And then I was like, wait a minute, fuck that shit. Why am I offering to do that? Like, that's so, what the fuck am I? I'm not some, no, fuck that shit. Never mind. What the, just order Postmates. And then Dante looks at me, like, with that oppa look, like he wants to talk that, but like with love. And he goes,
Uh-huh.
you know, don't be that, don't be that second person. Be the first person, is what he says to me. And I was like, yeah, he's right. He was like, the first person, that's the real you. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, yeah. I forget all the time because that second me was, again, that was me reacting
Yeah,
to
yeah,
my past, the times when I felt like a so-called doormat or whatever,
yeah,
It's like, am I doing this because I want these guys to like me or respect me? Or it's like all of that is bullshit. It's like I just
mm,
wanted to just do something that felt like the thing to do because we're all friends,
yeah,
and we
yeah,
just want to share a meal. That is the real us, and it's so hard to just like admit that or just be that because of
yeah.
the world and the way it is, and we need to always like protect ourselves and be defensive and shield ourselves and da 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 da. So I
Because you're not supposed
appreciated
to be
that moment.
yeah, you're not supposed to be vulnerable.
Exactly. And yet being vulnerable is something we have to be all the time in order to care, in
Yeah,
order to connect. And like that's what you were being in these clubhouse rooms when you found these friends. You were being vulnerable by being
for
genuine,
sure.
by
Yeah,
not, I mean, you have these like these tools of like roasting. You're like, I don't need to, why should I pull these things out? I don't need to because that's not what this is for. I'm here to connect and hang out and be chummy with these good people. I think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
sweet.
Vulnerability is not only looked down upon. It's people are reluctantly vulnerable. They want to run away from it, and then when they see their friends being vulnerable, they're quick to poke fun at it and make fun of it, even though they like the results of you being vulnerable. But that's just we just the nature of our society, like our current society, like the country we live in. But I think with vulnerability, there also has to come an awareness that hey, not everyone's going to appreciate this. Are you still willing to do it?
Yeah.
And that's this decision that we make is that hey, you know what? I know I could possibly get made fun of this. I could be taken advantage of, but this is me. This is congruent
Yes.
to me. I'm still going to do it. But of course, there are people that I know I'm not going to be vulnerable with them because they're just going to take with it and use it against me and use it for
Yeah.
evil.
What's the
And
use?
so
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, those people, like we're not dumb, and so we know like when we can pick and choose. But with people we don't know, giving them the benefit of the doubt, it takes a lot. It takes a lot for me to do that
Oh
because
yeah.
who knows who these people are, what they're gonna do,
Mhm.
look down on me or be condescending towards me. Um, but yeah, it does take that like the initial step on our part to be like, you know what, I'm just gonna be a nice person because this is who I am. I don't need to be mean. I don't need to show that I'm like powerful or I can stand
Mhm.
tall. Like none of that at the end of the day really matters once you become friends.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we misplace a lot of our energies into putting up a front and being more bold, especially now with the current climate with violence against like Asians and like verbally or physically. We're kind of more on guard. We're more on
Yeah.
edge right now. When we go
Mhm.
outside, because before the pandemic, I was working on myself because I usually scowl whenever I'm in public, like so no one bothers me. You know,
Yeah.
like so like they because there I believe there's people out there that look over the crowd and go, okay, who could I mess with right now?
Oh yeah.
And then so when they see me, they're like, okay, no, that guy looks a little intense. I'm not going to mess with him.
Mhm.
And so before the pandemic, I was trying to work on not scowling. And
Ah,
then the pandemic hit, and then there was a lot of like anti-Chinese sentiment.
sure.
And I know we're not Chinese, but they
Yeah.
don't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't
To
want
them, we're all Chinese. Yeah.
yeah, we're all Chinese. I didn't want to
Yeah.
get into it with anyone. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, oh, the scowl has to come back. And so
Yeah.
like when I would see people at like Home Depot
Uh-huh.
and I can tell, I can tell, but like the assumption is that these white people are looking at me like, oh, I caused the virus. But then when they look at me twice and see that I'm scowling and that I'm intense, they're like, oh, no, I'm not going to say anything to this guy
Yeah,
because
it's
he
like
looks like
a
he's going to do something.
yeah, it's like a winter coat. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
fuck. I don't want to wear this heavy shit. I guess I got to put it on because it's gonna be fucking fierce out there.
yeah,
It's actually potentially a funny bit. I don't know if you're writing that, but it's like, yeah, that's funny. Like, man, the scowl has to come back. It's like something you don't want. You don't
yeah.
want it on your face, but it's like, I gotta bring it back because it's necessary.
So I was okay. So I was at Walmart,
Mm,
and this was like in the summer of
mm,
last year,
yeah.
and this young guy, probably like either late teens, early 20s, was staring at me, and he
Okay.
was looking me up and down.
Uh-huh.
And so, of course, when I saw that, I put all my own prejudices on him. Like, oh, he's thinking this dude's Chinese. He caused the virus,
And
and he's looking at me like,
projections.
yeah.
Right.
And then, like he looked at, and then like the second time he looked me up and down, when he was going back up, we made eye contact,
Yeah.
and I was like, what? And then like he like looked me again like quickly once over, and he just shook his head and walked away.
Oh,
So I started following him. And then
yeah.
when I followed him, there was a mirror display, like right there. And
Uh-huh.
then I immediately saw myself. I was wearing a purple t-shirt, blue shorts, and orange shoes. So, okay. I think he was staring at me because of my color combination. Because
Yeah.
I wasn't even paying attention to what I was wearing because I was just at home and then decided I'm going to go to Walmart and I forgot that I have orange shoes. Because if I had black shoes, I think it would have been okay, like purple, blue, black. But purple, blue, and orange, that's a little much.
He was checking you.
Yeah, he was like, "Yo, what's going on here, Chinaman? Like, what is this?" so, yeah,
That's amazing. That is like cosmic. The fact that there was a mirror when you turned
yeah,
the
yeah,
corner and it like was like, look at yourself. That
yeah.
is cosmic.
It's total like, "Yo, dude, you need to pay more attention to you." like,
Or it was like, yeah, it's like it wasn't even about any of those things that came
no,
floating up. It was
oh yeah,
literally just he was just looking at your clothes because you
yeah,
look like you popped out of a fucking video game, you
yeah.
know?
Seriously, and
Yeah.
he was probably staring at me in admiration. Look how
Yeah.
old that dude is that he can wear purple, blue, and orange.
Look at this 95-year-old man styling on the streets. Yes. I
And
love that.
the thing is, they weren't even like dark purple or dark blue. It
Yeah.
was like purple, purple,
Like
and it was
flashy.
blue, like royal blue. It wasn't even
Yeah.
like navy blue. It was like royal blue. So it was like the brightest of
Yeah.
the colors, and it
Like
was bright red.
eye-catching colors. Like
Yes,
colors that demand you to look. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And I went
I
out like that.
I
That's
love that. That's
that's
also
what
funny.
yeah. So yeah.
That's
So
also
like
funny.
for so now and then what I used to do is during the pandemic is I carry a sign that
Mm.
said I'm smiling, I promise. And I would just walk around with it, and people want to take pictures of it because we're
Yeah.
masked up. You can't tell if someone's smiling or not.
Yeah.
And people like my friends would ask like, "Why are you carrying that around?" I said, "Well,
Yeah.
part of the reason is so that it gives people like something to laugh about or smile about,
Yeah.
smile,
Yeah.
and the other part is to keep me in check, so
Sure.
that if something, because then I feel like with that sign, I can't really get upset at
Mm-hmm.
anyone, and so it
Mm-hmm.
kind of keeps me in check too, because I can get riled up really easily.
Man. Well, I mean, you got that fiery Korean blood in you. It's
Yeah.
we all can. Grace Jung can, Dante can, Gina can, Walter can, anybody can. But yeah, we got
You
that
know what I
extra
adore?
fiery Korean
You know
blood.
what I adore about your exposition is you say Dante and then you say Walter, but then you say Jean Unni, as if Jean is older than all of us.
Bro, she is like terrifying. You know what I mean? I think for women, like for not just women, just me, just Grace Jung. Like my personality type is very masculine.
Uh-huh.
I'm you know that Myers-Briggs stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I took it. I am INTJ woman, which is like 1% of all women on earth are INTJ, meaning we don't
What?
really express affective kind of emotions very well. When somebody, let's say somebody is like, they're like, there's a deadline and they were supposed to send
Uh,
something to me, but they got into an accident, they lost their arm, and they can't. I'm still like, you should have brought that fucking report. You know what I mean? It's like that, like fucking
It's so
ruthless.
so Korean.
So Korean, so savage, you know? But
Yeah.
like I am further on that spectrum, like very like cutthroat, you know? Like
Uh-huh.
I would have made a really good general, I think. But like um yeah, like and when I see Dante, like, you know, I'm like, hey, Oppa, what's up, you know? But like, you know, with Jean 언니, like the moment I met her, I was like, hey, 언니, you know, like I couldn't call her Jean. It wasn't, the possibility wasn't there at all. Like she
Funny.
demands 언니 at
That's
the end of
hilarious.
Jean. Yeah. And I was like, I mean, she earned it, you know, like it's in her. I know she earned it because I feel it, but yeah. But not to say that I don't respect you and Dante. That's not it at all.
Uh-huh.
I
Hmm.
do. Like I want to shift gears. So the show that that's that's going to be discussed on this episode of K Drama School. I don't know if you've seen this show, but it's called All In. It came out in like early 2000s. Lee Byung-hun is in it. Song Hye-kyo is in it.
If it's early 2000, I probably didn't watch it.
Yeah, and then after this show, they briefly dated, and they got engaged actually.
Lee Byung-hun and who?
Song Hye-kyo.
Oh, isn't
Yeah,
that from
yeah,
Descendants of the Sun?
same chick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She dated so many of her very sexy co-stars.
That
Uh,
that happens more often than not, just because by nature of because there's certain personality types
yeah,
they just can't fake it. And okay, fake it's a probably a wrong connotated word. They just can't act it
yeah.
without really feeling it.
I see. Got
It's
it. Got it.
yeah, it's nothing against their acting skill or craft.
But I mean, but in her case, well, first of all, she's not the best actress. I'll give you that. She's just really beautiful. Like she's, you know, her
She's
face.
gotten a lot. She's got through her
I,
career.
I agree. You could see
Yeah,
the improvement, and she's actually a really good comedic actress. Like when she does
yeah,
comedy, she's like on it. But when she
yeah.
does like very serious dramatic roles, like she did on All In, it's I was like, man, you're boring me. But All In was also written by a man, so like you know, this story was very much about the male protagonist,
I see.
and it was a good ass fucking story. I'll give you that. But Song Ye Kyo is a bit extreme. She dated three of her co-stars
And married one of them.
and married, almost married Lee Byung-hun, married Song Joong-ki, but she also dated Hyunbin at one point. And a lot of people forget this that she and Hyunbin dated, and I'm like, man, like you know,
And what's it?
you go, girl, you go around town, you fucking you do your thing. I don't blame
What's
her.
it say about Hyunbin, who is now dating his co-star Seo-ji?
That's true. They're
You,
oh my god, they're the same. Yeah, they're exhibiting patterns.
you know, and I think you see that a lot in American movies and TV shows as well.
That's
And
true.
you'll hear rumors that they slept together.
Yeah.
Uh, whether they're true or not, like who knows? But I just think that it's very difficult unless you have you're wired to compartmentalize.
Uh huh.
It's very difficult to accurately portray someone in love with another person
Yeah.
without actually falling in love with them, and then
Yeah.
being able to put that aside and say,
Yeah.
okay, now I'm going to go home to my husband or wife.
It's a bit sociopathic to be able to do that very well. Yeah. But
Hence, actors are crazy.
okay, I didn't say it, but I agree.
Yeah, I'll say it. Actors are crazy.
They're
They
fucking
are. Actually,
crazy.
you know, let me qualify that. Let me qualify that. Successful actors on TV and movies are crazy. The ones before TV and movie, they still lead regular lives. But
Yeah.
once you get on TV and once you get on movies, because you know, there's something to knowing that millions of people know who you are.
Oh yeah.
Something to that, and it
Yeah.
does something to people, what positively and negatively. And I don't think we
Yeah.
can understand what that would.
We can't understand until we live it, but yeah, that in and of itself, fame in and of itself is a form of disease. Yeah.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Like what was
it's
that game? The one you kept hitting your screen and the bird would go up and down. Like so, if you tap your
uh,
screen, the bird would go up, and then as soon as you let go, the bird would go down, and you have to go in through all these levels. I forgot what it's called. This
it's not
Vietnamese
Angry
guys.
Birds.
It's not Angry Birds. It's a simple game. There's
Okay.
just columns, and then the bird goes up. You have to navigate the bird through these columns,
Okay.
and you have to up is push
Mm-hmm.
tap your screen. This
Mm.
Vietnamese guy created it. I think it had like 50 million downloads, and it was a
Damn.
free game.
Yeah.
And he took it offline. and people were like, "What's going on?" Because he was supposed to make a
Yeah.
second game, and they were anticipating a second game, and that was going to be monetized.
Uh-huh.
And the pressure got to him
Oh.
of 50 million people downloading his game, and he just snapped.
He lost
Um,
his mind.
yeah, and then the Coney director, the guy that did Coney
Oh no.
about the African warlord or whatever,
Okay.
tens of millions of people saw it on YouTube,
Uh-huh.
and it turned out to be like not entirely accurate. But the
Ooh.
pressure had gotten to him that his video was downloaded several tens of millions of times. Some people can handle it. Some people can't. We think most of them can handle it, but that's probably not true.
Yeah.
It manifests itself in different ways. Blackpink, I'm sure you know Blackpink. On Instagram, they
Yeah.
have like 10, 15, 20 million followers, like
Yeah.
each.
Oh yeah.
And when they post something, within like minutes, they'll have millions of likes.
Yep.
The amount of like how that affects you, like
Mm.
the power, the ego, the pride, the self esteem, whether it goes high or low, all of that. We just don't get unless you're in those shoes. And so I think like a lot of these actors and actresses that date each other, and they understand each other. That's one thing.
Yeah.
You
They
hear like
do.
law enforcement can only date law enforcement because they
Yeah.
understand each other. Um, but yeah, no, I wish I had seen this so we could.
No, no, no. You don't have. It's better that the person does not see it,
Okay.
because I ask flashcard questions based on
Oh,
these
okay.
scenarios. So okay, let's say it's 1980s South Korea. Okay,
Hmm.
you're like one of these like punk ass boys. You're an orphaned teenager. Your name is Inha, and
Okay.
you grew up with an uncle, a samchon who's really good at cheating at hatu,
Hmm.
the Gustop cards. He's
Yeah, yeah.
really good at cheating at that. He's called a tacha, right? He's like pro cheater. He goes around town to town all over the country cheating people of their money, out of their money.
Hmm.
And you've been helping him cheat all your life since you were a little boy, like you would like pull your ear or you would scratch your head and he would take that as a cue to know who has what.
Hmm.
So understandably, you as this teenage boy, your morals are very unique. They're not mainstream. Let's put it that way. And one day, you know, you're on a train with your uncle, and you very casually and by force of habit grab a thing of eggs, like a bag of eggs, out of the snack cart that's passing by, and you just hand them to your uncle, and he takes them, and you and your uncle start eating the eggs, these hard boiled eggs. But there's this pretty teenage girl sitting right across from you, looking at you. And then she asks you, "Why didn't you pay?" What do you do?
Uh, 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 wait, what? Hey, I'm not. Wait, what? I think my uncle already paid.
In advance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm answering um along the lines of your description.
Yeah.
Of like he's been hustling his whole life, pretty
Yeah.
much. So it'd be like my uncle paid, but I'm still tongue tied because this attractive girl is talking to me.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to mess up. Like I
Mm.
know how to hustle people like with gambling, but I don't. This is new. This is
Mm-hmm.
completely new, and so
Yeah.
yeah, I'd be very much like, okay, what's like the best answer I could give? Whereas I think normally I wouldn't care. Like if it was an adult, I probably wouldn't care.
Mm-hmm.
But just like, I want to be truthful to her. I don't want to
Right.
lie, but at the same time, the truth is not going to be good. So kind of like a half truth. Like I think my uncle paid.
Okay. All right. I like that answer. Okay. All right. So let's say a town gangster boss, okay? Your local town like thug, like a gangpe. Yeah? He takes a liking to you. He sees that you got some rawness in you, you got some powerful moves, okay? Because he's seen you fight. And he wants to hire you, right? But you're like, nah, I'm not about that life. No, thank you. So for shutting down this gangpe boss, this gangpe 형님, his little stooge boys throw your closest friend off a bridge and physically disable him. What do you do?
I would. This is not going to be more of a personal thing
Okay.
because I don't know
Yeah.
the actor's character or like the
Yes.
character's character
Yeah.
that well. I would plot a revenge, but like
Mm-hmm.
a slow one, not. like because there's too many people. I already know I can't defeat all of them. Like one
Yeah.
on one maybe, but like not
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
So I would plot a very methodic, slow revenge
Mm.
that they wouldn't know, like on each of their lives. Uh, Probably could take it. Some could be months, like within months. Some could be within years.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be very slow and methodic and very well planned and thought out. Um, yeah, that's probably what I would do. And then that whole gang would be done. It'd be
Mm-hmm.
over for them.
Like Marion Cotillard in the third Batman trilogy with the Christopher Nolan film,
Yeah. Or
The
like,
Slow Knife.
did you see Fresh with Sean Nelson?
No.
Oh, if you ever get a chance, watch Fresh.
Fresh? Okay.
Sean Nelson. Trying to think where you would know Sean Nelson as an adult. He was in The Wood, which I know a lot of people didn't see. Um,
Okay.
but Sean Nelson was a little kid
Mm.
when Fresh came out. But Fresh it's one of those like small movies that was such a pleasant, nice surprise, like watching it.
Okay.
And it's not one of those movies where like, oh, you gotta wait till the end
Yeah.
and then it gets good. It's not like that at all. Like, from the beginning, middle, end, it's
It's
just a
like
solid movie
super
all the
good
way around.
film. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
write that down. Sean
Fresh
Nelson,
is really good.
Fresh. Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. So there's this rich friend in your school. Okay. You're still Inha. You're still the same teenage boy. There's a rich kid in your school. His name is Chung-won. And he suggests, after hearing about your friend getting disabled, he suggests that you set the gangster boss's office on fire after everybody leaves, just to send a message. So the two of you boys, you guys set his office on fire, but as it turns out, of course, this gangster boss was still fucking in there. He was sleeping after getting drunk and passing out, and he dies. So you're both arrested. But your rich friend, of course, gets off scot-free, and you end up with all the blame and a prison sentence for murder. What do you do?
Um, Contemplate life decisions and regrets. I mean, I don't know personally that I would be upset at my friend
Uh-huh.
because it's just a system
Yeah.
that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help it. But like, if my friend had said, "Oh, I didn't do anything; it was all him,"
Mm-hmm.
then that's different, you know. But like, barring that, I obviously I'd be upset that I'm in prison and my friend isn't, even though we both
Right.
did it. But I don't know
Yeah.
that I'd be mad at my friend per se.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
There might be bitterness,
Mm-hmm.
but I would realize that it's not like I'm not bitter towards my friend,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, I'm sure things can manifest that way. But it would be more just at the system itself than
Got
rather.
it.
But if he goes, oh, I didn't do nothing. That was all, you know, Walter, or it was all was Inha. Then I'd be
Yeah.
like, yo.
Yeah.
Then I would add him to the methodic revenge.
Yeah. Yeah. The slow knife. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, because that is true. It's just a heartbreaking situation. That's all it is. Yeah. They both
yeah,
feel bad. Yeah. Okay. So your name is Suyan now. Okay. You're that
yeah.
teenage girl that was on the train
Okay.
asking Inha why you didn't pay for the eggs. You you almost became a nun at an
Okay.
orphanage. Okay, but you decided against it, and you get a job at a casino on Jeju Island as a dealer. Okay, you're a dealer chick, and you notice that one of the security guards working with you is Inha, the boy you knew as a teenager, and you liked him, and you haven't seen him for 7 years, and now he's in front of you. What do you do?
I'd buy him eggs.
Yes, that is beautiful. Why
Yeah,
didn't she do that? My
yeah,
God, that is genius. See, that would have been a great character point, but they
yeah.
left it out. Ugh.
Is there lack of creativity in the early
Yeah.
2000s?
God, that is like fucking on. So good. That's like a good flirt. That's a good flirt point. It's like,
Yeah,
thought you'd like these. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, okay.
yeah.
All right, so let's say you're Inha, all right? Because you grew up with your card game cheating uncle, you have a very intuitive sense for card games, right? So while you're watching on the security cameras, while you're watching all these tables, you learned how to play every single card game by heart. Even though you don't know what poker is, you don't know what blackjack
Yeah.
is, you don't know these names, but you know exactly how these games work. And so the supervisors, they promote you to pit boss in just a matter of like 2 months or something ridiculous.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, of course, all the other pit bosses are super pissed and they keep giving you shit about it. Now, keep in mind your past, okay? You were this thugged out, punk ass fighter boy, all right? And you were in the Huskow where you got hard. What do you do?
Oh, that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Because unless they're skimming money, there's nothing to plot with at work. Um, there's nothing to really show anything like or show anyone up. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
I think at that point, because being like the thug that he was, is I would just uh, talk to them individually.
Uh-huh.
In that kind of thuggish way that
Mm.
I know. But it'd be alone, just us two, you know, just so that they know,
Yeah.
or play cards with them
Okay.
to
Yeah.
let them know, like, hey, I'm not someone that's here because whatever someone
Yeah.
likes me or found favor with me. Is I
Yeah.
actually know my job,
Yes.
and I would cheat them out of everything,
Yeah.
and then I'd give their money back.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that is so good. Yeah, that's as good as the eggs thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. That's like such a creative resolution to this problem. Man, why couldn't they have thought of these things? My God, I tell you. I don't know. These K-drama writers, they can do a little better, I think. I don't
But
know. These are
Do you
much
know?
better
Do you know?
answers.
Yeah. Do you know about Korean dramas though that only one writer writes all the episodes?
Yeah, they do, but they have assistant writers. They have assistant writers. They don't really get too much credit, but a lot of those assistant writers, after apprenticing for a couple of years with big time writers, they
Hmm.
go and make their own drama. So they do have assistant writers, but those assistant writers don't write
Yeah.
entire like episodes or anything like. It's not like a writer's room here in the States at
No.
all.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't get those credits for like an episode that they wrote or anything because they wouldn't write all of that. So
No.
yeah,
And
I
people get tired. That's the thing. Is the
huh?
amount of
Yeah, they
stress
do
and
get
time?
tired.
Yeah. To write 16, because basically
16
you're
and 20.
writing
This
six.
one's 24 episodes, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Some are 24. You're writing basically 24 screenplays
Yeah,
in a
in 3
matter of
months.
months. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I have a yeah, I have a friend right now. He's a film he's a screenwriter for film. Like Korean films. He's done like Japanese films. Like he's like a screenwriter, big shot, you know? But he recently got a thing from a Korean network and now he's trying out for the first time in his life the TV screenwriting. You know, he's
Mhm.
adapting a film script that he wrote into a TV thing, and he's like, "It's kicking his ass." He said, "It's kicking his
Oh
ass."
yeah.
Yeah,
Because especially, I mean, you watch a lot of Korean dramas, right?
yeah,
So you'll see in Korean dramas, okay, I know it's an hour,
yeah,
but a good 10 minutes of it
yeah,
is just the camera on the actor with no dialogue. And I'm like, okay, look, do this for 20 seconds.
yeah,
You don't need to do it for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes,
yeah.
because they're not that good of an actor where we know what they're thinking. But I think Koreans think like, oh, you know what? We'll know what this person's dilemma is by just watching them. No, 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 no.
Yes,
There's a reason why TV shows are TV shows. It's because we can see them and we can hear them.
yeah.
But if we're not doing both of those, then there's no point in this
What's the
scene.
point? It's just a filler. But
Yeah,
they also add a lot of like flashback moments, right? Where they replay like the earlier episodes and like cut into this little
yeah,
like yeah, it's like, bro, like come on.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
those
just
montages of flashbacks, like, oh, remember these good times? Or remember these sad times? It's like, oh God, it's like, and it's a full song long. It's like 3 minutes and 45 seconds long. It's like a whole song.
so you don't see this now in TV. You're low 20s, right? Your age.
No, man, I'm in my mid 30s, bro. You think I'm in my
What?
early 20s,
I thought
baby?
you were
That
early
is
20s.
so nice to hear. I am an old hag. Bro, you thought I was like what,
I
21?
thought you were low 20s. Okay.
Oh, that is so I will
Okay.
take that with me. Yes.
So, okay. Then I don't know if you would still, you're not mid 30s. I don't know if you know. So back then, when we were younger, when we were little
Mm.
kids, TV shows, one episode of the season
Mm.
will have like a recap of what
yeah.
happened.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they'll be
yeah.
stuck in a room and they'll be like, "Oh my God, Mom, remember when you came home with donuts and then like this happened?" And then they'll
Yeah.
show like bits and pieces of that
Yeah.
episode. And you
Yeah.
know, Dad, remember
Yeah.
when you came home with
Yeah,
pizza?
yeah, yeah.
And they'll show bits and pieces.
Uh-huh.
They don't do that anymore. And the reason
Mm-mm.
they did that, the reason they did those shows was because the shows were over budget. So they
Oh,
needed
okay.
an episode where they could save money.
Okay.
So it was a financial thing. I mean, it wasn't.
Oh.
I'm sure people can give creative reasons as to why they did those, but
Yeah.
it's mostly because to save money because they
Makes
were over
sense.
budget. So they'll
Mm.
have it towards the end of the season because like, oh, we're $2 million in the hole. What do we
Mm.
do? All right, let's just do like a recap episode.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
The
they'll just
filler
write it,
stuff.
and they'll just save money on it. That's why they did that. But now, with budgets being the way they are, we don't have those shows. But
Mm-hmm.
when I think about it, I kind of miss those episodes because it's a nice, like, good feeling. Like, oh, I love this show,
Yeah.
and here's a recap of what's been going on so far.
Yeah.
The first,
Yeah.
like, whatever, 17 episodes.
Yeah, yeah. There's something comforting about it. It's like, hey, remember this stuff? Or just in case you missed it,
Yeah.
like, here we go. It's like a lot of hand holding for you as a
Mhm.
viewer. And television's always kind of been that way. Like, if you look at television history and television theory, like, television is designed in order to keep you constantly watching.
Yes.
And that same mentality or concept is now applied to cell phones. That's why we're looking at our cell phones for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like all of that is relevant. But yeah, I agree. There is something nostalgically comfortable about this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have more of these questions. Are you good with them?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Yeah.
you're giving fun answers. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
let's keep them going. All right, so let's say you're Inha again, right?
Hmm.
The the gangster boss that you accidentally killed as a teenager, he had a younger brother, okay? His younger brother's actually like a worse, like he's a bigger nightmare than his older brother was. And he is out for blood. He's trying to kill your ass. Okay, he wants
What's
you
his?
dead. I forget. It was like something very like 촌스러워 and like thuggish.
Is it Dohwan or Jonggu? Jongku?
Was
Yu
it Chung? Was it Chunggu? He has like a scar on his face. It
Do you
was
wear
like
sunglasses?
no sunglasses. He had this like scar down his face, and actually that actor is interesting. He and Lee Byung-hun actually did a weird like short back in the day. But anyway,
Oh.
he's a punk. He's not a punk. He's like a thug boss now. You know, he inherited his
Mm.
brother's position, and he's a nightmare. He like rains terror where he goes, and he's trying to find you so he could kill you, and he tracks you down. Okay, he's coming to Jeju Island to kill your ass. So your friends make an arrangement for you to get on a boat and sneak into America, into the West Coast. But you have a girlfriend now. You know, you reunited with the egg lady, and like you guys are in love. You know, and she's waiting to see you. But
Mhm.
you're like standing on the docks now. The boat is about to leave. Man, what do you do?
I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that I had zero time to contact her and tell her the plan.
Zero. Yeah. Well,
So
actually, there was a payphone there.
there was a payphone. Okay, I would I would call her
Mm-hmm.
and then say I have to leave now. I can't explain,
Okay.
but if you trust me, I'm gonna make arrangements for you to get to where I am.
Okay.
I will tell you everything when I
Mm.
can. I have to leave right now.
Mm.
I don't want to bring any trouble on you, and so, but I will make arrangements for you to come with me if you trust me. But
Mm.
you have to decide now.
Okay.
That
Wow.
way, it's that way because then I feel like she doesn't decide, then the longer the communication goes, the more chance that bad guy the more time he has to figure out that she's with me.
Right.
So
Yeah.
these kind of things have to be immediate, and
Yeah.
so
Okay.
or if there was an opportunity to, I would just go grab her and take her and go, hey, we're leaving,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
I'm going to explain on the way. not the TV movie trope where it's like, you don't need to know right now. Because if you do, there's too many dialogue pages that's going to go to waste. Because the audience already knows what's going on. Only you don't. So, yeah, I would explain on the way. But if there was no chance for that, I would call her and tell her that much. That
Yeah. Actually, now that you say this, that is a good point. Yeah, because like audience already knows, and if he's explaining, that is like pages. So, and this I saw. I mean, trigger warning for listeners. This is a strategy I saw in Woody Allen movies. It's like a long shot from a distance, still, and you see the two characters in the distance just talking, and you already know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's what we just saw, and they show that for what, like 5 seconds, and we know, and now we can move on. Yeah. That would be a nice strategy.
That's not Korean enough. They need to be on there for a good 3 minutes.
It's not kitschy enough.
Yeah.
It's not camp enough. You're right. That shot was very like elegant and like, you know, black and white, highbrow. Like, you know, the cinematographer was like the Godfather cinematographer. You know, like yeah. So it makes sense. But yeah, that would have been a beautiful moment to just take care of that. Okay, sweet. So you would try and offer her some kind of explanation and some kind of option rather than just disappear on her. Okay.
Yeah, because to me, like the not knowing for like the person not knowing, like being in limbo is so devastating. That if I'm really in love with this person, I don't want her to go through that.
Yeah.
And so even if it's even if she won't go with me, like flee with me, just to be able to say bye and like, you know, I know I can't give you specifics as to why I'm leaving just because there's no time, but I want you to know that I will make arrangements if you want. But just so that she'll know and be like, okay, I don't know exactly what's going on, but there's some semblance of closure rather than just leaving, because that's just, that you're just causing a lot of pain, unnecessary pain.
Yeah, a lot of anguish. Yeah. So, okay, well then that brings me to my next question. Let's say you're Suyeon, the egg chick. The man you loved, Inha, he disappeared without any notice. Oh. And a close friend of yours gives you plane tickets and tells you to go to California to study hospitality management at some SoCal university. So you go, and one day, by freak coincidence, all right, you were hired as a Japanese English interpreter at a private auction in Malibu, and you see your ex-boyfriend Inha standing there, and I mean he's the man who said he loved you and then suddenly disappeared from your life. Turns out he got hired to work as a private bodyguard for this wealthy white man who lives in Malibu doing these auctions. Man, what do you do?
This is gonna sound sexist, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. We're in a safe space. Yeah.
I would assume that she can tear rather easily.
Okay.
So I would time it so that when we made eye contact, a tear would fall. And I wouldn't say a single word. Because then now it's all up to him to decide whether he's going to ignore me, like the tearing me, or talk to me.
Okay.
And explain. Because then at that point, my passive aggressive message to him is, because it's up to you, if you don't come talk to me and explain, then I'll know that this is it. This is over.
It's over. Yeah.
This is done. Regardless, if you don't come to me, regardless of what your reason is, no matter how amazing it is, this is over.
Right.
Because, you know, I'm being vulnerable and I'm here. But I'm not going to go up to you because I'm not the one who left. Yeah. And so that's what I would do. Yeah.
Even that tear is generous of a signal.
Yes.
Yeah. Like she didn't have to do shit.
No, because you can't be. You can't be like that. You know? It just has to be one tear. I don't even think two tears might be too much.
Too much.
Just one. Just the one.
Small, tiny stream.
Yeah. And then I would never break eye contact with him. I would keep looking at his eyes, and then he's gonna be the one that's going like doing double takes and looking away. I'm never gonna break that.
That's intense, man.
And then just one tear, and then in that he should know because I'm sure he studied passive aggression in Korea. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And and it'd be all the onus would be on him.
Okay, I like that. Okay, good. Empower yourself, ladies. Single tears. All right. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So you're still Suyeon, okay?
Uh-huh.
Of course, Inha comes begging for your forgiveness. Begging, 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 begging. Oh my God. You eventually forgive him, all right? You're like, all right, fine. Circumstances, they were what they were. I get it. Love overcomes all right? So the two of you, y'all are in America now, right?
Uh-huh.
So you guys go to Vegas, y'all fuck, okay? I was like, when I saw this, like, I was like in middle school or high school, I was like, oh my God, they're fucking, it's a Korean drama, they be fucking. And so, okay, while you're in Vegas, you see a jewelry store, okay? And you and Inha step inside. And he tells you very confidently, he's like, pick whatever you want. So you point at a ring. And Inha asks very confidently to the saleswoman, he's like, how much is this? And the saleswoman says, it's $27,000. And Inha says, thank you, and leads you back out of the store. What do you do?
I'm still
You're the
I'm
girl.
still the girl, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know this actress's facial expressions and mannerisms, I
Yeah.
would do one of her patented, like when she does that
The
look that
side
she
eye?
does. Yeah, that her side eye is so good
Yeah.
because it conveys seriousness and joking at the same
Yeah.
time.
It's playful.
I would give her, yeah, total playful. I would
Yeah.
give him one of those,
Yeah.
um, and then also a tuh, like a you know.
Yeah. You
And
nailed it. That's exactly what she did. Yeah.
yeah, with
She
the
did that side eye thing at the
yeah,
store. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and with the tuh, it would convey like 큰 척한다고, like like you
Yeah.
thought you were all
Yeah.
badass.
Yeah, you thought you were a big boy now,
Yeah,
huh?
she's
Yeah.
really. There's actresses that
Yeah.
are really good at looks,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she's one of them.
When it comes to like cute but kind of like pointed expressions, like she
Mhm.
nails it. She started out in sitcoms. That's where she
Yeah,
got
yeah,
her
yeah.
comedic kind of sensibility, and so she's really good at things like that. Yeah, I
And
agree.
and she does it in a way she portrays it in a way that she loses no pride.
Mhm.
There's no like I'm gonna go under you. There's nothing
Mhm.
like that. They're still on equal
Yeah.
footing, but it
Yeah.
allows her it still empowers her and allows her to be like, hey,
Yeah.
I didn't really care about that, but I'm still gonna give you
Exactly.
crap for it.
Yeah, yeah,
Fine.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. All right, it gets intense for Suyeon though. Like, let's say, okay, you're still Suyeon. You and Inha, you guys agree to elope at a local church. All right,
Okay.
somewhere beautiful in LA somewhere. Inha says he'll meet you at the chapel. All right.
Mhm.
He's gonna get off work and he'll meet you at the chapel. That's what he says. So you get all dolled up, you put on your pretty white dress, you get a bouquet, you go to the church and you're waiting. And you wait and wait and wait. The sun sets. Inha never comes. Man, what do you do?
Okay, so in situations like that, I always initially err on the side of I hope nothing bad happened to the person.
Mm-hmm.
So even when people are late,
Yeah.
I always err on the side of like I first ask them, "Are you okay? Did anything happen?" And
Yeah.
then when they go, "No, no, no, nothing happened," then I get into, "Well, then why are you so late?"
Yeah, it's like, yo, where are you, man? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's totally yo, where
Yeah. Yeah.
like if you get in an accident, oh, it's cool because it's an
Yeah.
easier transition into, "Oh my God, are you okay?" As opposed to, "Where the hell are you?"
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're in an accident. Oh, like, are you okay? Because then, no matter how much you try to be sincere, it doesn't come off genuine.
Yeah.
'Cause the
Because you already
previous,
blew it.
yeah, you already blew it. So I like to err on the side of, hopefully nothing happened.
Yeah.
But in a situation like this, where this has happened to her before, not
Yeah.
specifically, obviously, but like in a similar
Something
fashion,
similar. Yeah.
yeah, I would wait as long as I physically could.
Mm-hmm.
And not because I believe he's going to show up eventually 5 hours later, but it's later because I know I'm going to see him later or possibly see him later, barring anything bad happen. I want to be able to genuinely say, I waited for you for 10 hours, sitting there. They closed the chapel. I waited outside for you. just in case just to be able to say that. Because if I say I waited 10 hours and I didn't, it's going to come out. That'll come out. But if I literally waited for 10 hours, I'm going to, I can genuinely say I waited for 10 hours.
Yeah,
For
yeah. Your
you to
plan
come.
is now different because, like, let's say at 5 hours, you already know he's not gonna come. Even at like
Yeah.
3 hours, you're like, all right, I think 3 hours, that's a good odd number to real like let go of my expectations.
Yeah.
But now it's like a different game.
Yeah.
Now it's a game with yourself and the future him, giving him
Mhm.
shit. I
Yeah.
waited for 10 hours.
Yeah. Like, literally waited for 10 hours,
See,
But
again, I feel like that's the Korean side, like Bobby Lee does shit like that, like from what I hear. And I've definitely done shit like that. But I learned something right now. I really like your strategy of when you contact a late person by asking them, hey, are you okay? Did something come up? I like that because for me, I have a huge problem with lateness, like,
yeah.
because I have trauma with it. Like my parents were very negligent and like they've done shit like this to me where like they leave me at a library for hours, no food, and the library closes. I'm like 8 and I'm standing outside the
Yeah.
library in the dark, in the cold with no food. That's traumatic. So like I've had many instances like that as a child, and a lot of immigrant children have experienced like these kind of latchkey moments. And so when a person's late, it feels like a nightmare. Like chaos is happening in my head. But instead of like lashing out and then ruining the day that we were supposed to have together, checking in and being like, hey, is everything okay? Or are you all right? That's a lot more compassionate and mindful. I like that. Yeah.
Because then it's brazen for them to be like, no, everything's cool.
I know. Then you're like, okay, well, you asking for it. Here comes the fucking fire, you piece of shit. Yeah, yeah. I just got out of bed. It's like, really? I've been here for 45 fucking minutes. Yeah. Okay, I get it. Yeah. All right.
It's justified, at that point.
It is. That's justified anger and rage. Yeah, I agree. Okay. All right. So this is a very long and intense show. So that's why there's so many questions. Usually it stops at like 5, but there's like 12. Okay. So you're Inha, all right?
Okay.
The man. Dude, you wake up from a coma. Okay? You wake up. They tell you that you've been out for months, like 2 months or something. All right? Because you got shot multiple times on that job while you were protecting that rich man in Malibu.
Okay.
And you recall that you were supposed to get married that day, but you got shot.
Yeah.
And your friends tell you that your public records state that you are actually dead. And they did this in order to protect you from that gangster thug that's coming after your ass.
Uh-huh.
All right? So they're going to recreate your identity. Everybody back in Korea, including the woman you were about to marry, think you're dead. What do?
Because now that everyone thinks I'm dead, I'm going to try to get a new identity,
Mm-hmm.
and then go to Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would, not stalk, but it would be stalking. But I would do reconnaissance on her and see where her life is right now. Because it's a couple months or 2 years? 2 years or a couple months?
A couple months. A few months.
Okay, so I would probably do less reconnaissance because it's only been 2 months. I wouldn't think that she'd be dating someone right away. But like I would, just see like where she's at and what's going on in her life. Just like, maybe for a few days. And then I would try to approach her in the most gentlest way possible.
Okay.
Not just like running up to her going, oh my God, it was all a lie. I'm alive. Because, when she's overjoyed by the fact that I'm alive, she'll be pissed because, for all the right reasons. Yeah. And so I think, I would kind of see like, approach with trepidation and cautiousness just to not to startle her or scare her, but just to kind of, but I would definitely make myself know because this was 2 months. Had it been 2 years, then for sure I would do a much longer reconnaissance, make sure she's not dating anyone, and try to slowly try to see what's going on. But yeah, a couple months. I think the wounds are still very fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Because she probably also feels bad that she waited outside for 10 hours, and because she's like, oh, if I would have known, then I wouldn't have been so angry, and so she's probably dealing with her own demons of that. So me just rush back in, all that's going to come out, and I'm going to receive the brunt of it. So
Right.
I need to kind of ease back uh, in the most
Mm,
gentle way possible, if there isn't even such a
yeah.
thing in that in this crazy situation.
Yeah. Did you like did you study like psychology or something?
I have a bachelor's of psychology from the University of Southern California. I don't know if you know where that is. Um,
See, this is why I didn't want to bring this up, because it was going nice. And then, but did you really study psychology?
yeah,
I knew it. I was like, it's like there's something about him. He's like a good like mediator, like therapeutic mediator. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I got it. Okay, cool.
we're both in the Sweet 16,
Sweet 16. What does that mean?
NCAA March Madness tournament.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay, that world is very foreign to me, but
I I,
that's cool.
I, I reckon by judging by your
Yeah.
physical demeanor when I brought it up.
Yeah, yeah. With my 21-year-old looking self. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
seriously.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
That's now
Okay.
that's now all of a sudden 35 in a matter of 2 minutes. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I say mid 30s. I actually turned 34 last month, so I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know.
that age is weird
It
because
is. It's
it's
like
like
I feel
it's
more
30.
comfortable saying mid 30s because 34 is like you're not quite mid, but to say I'm in my early 30s doesn't feel appropriate either. It's
Yeah,
because not true. Yeah,
yeah.
but it's all right. I like being 34. All right. Okay. Okay. Fine. So okay, you're Suyeon.
Okay.
Inha's childhood friend, the rich boy that didn't
Mhm.
go to prison. Okay. He's a colleague of yours on Jeju Island, and he's in the hospitality business and casino business, and he's about to inherit some fucking casinos. I mean, he's a rich boy. He's
Mhm.
really fucking rich. And this guy, he's starting to hit on you, okay? And he says to you that he wants to take care of you, all right? Meanwhile, he was Inha's best friend as a child.
Mhm.
Inha's dead. So he says Inha's dead. What do you do?
And I assume I know he's best friends
Mm-hmm.
and
You know the whole thing.
the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Um, and this is like still 2 months, 3 months after
Now this is longer. It's been about a year now.
a year.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. I don't know. It's okay. So I have there's a fork in my mind right now because the part of one side is that there's that like kind of friendship code
Mm.
where you don't date your friends' exes.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, I also have this like asterisk clause in there
Mm-hmm.
that unless it works, meaning it goes all the way. Barring that, then yeah, there's you run into a lot of issues. Um, so I would, if I was her, I would ask myself, is this going to go all the way?
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I'm assuming the guy's dead. My ex is dead,
Yeah.
and so is this going to go all the way? And can I like stomach
Mm-hmm.
the dynamic of this? Is the money going to be worth it? Because that's going to obviously is a factor.
Yeah.
Because she's been working hard her whole life, and she's an orphan, right?
She is. Yeah.
Yeah. So for her, the money it's more valued and more valuable to her. Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, there is. I think yeah, there's gonna be a lot of inner conflict. But because it's a TV show, I
Yeah.
have to decide to date him because otherwise the show would end a lot quicker.
Yeah. Yeah. We need a little drama there.
Yeah,
We need some of the risque, like kind of dancing around the code kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
agree. All right. Fine. So last question. You're Inha again. And actually, this was actually based on a true story, but like obviously very much dramatized. But
Mhm.
there's this guy, is it Jimmy Cha or something? He's like a Korean American poker player. Um, but it's based on his life. Okay,
Okay.
so you're Inha again.
Hmm.
Given your preternatural ability with card games, you become a poker player, and you're very good at it to
Hmm.
the point where you compete in the poker championship, right? And you win millions. And you return to Korea. And you run into your ex-girlfriend that you left at the altar who thinks you're dead.
Hmm.
What do you do?
And now, how many years has transpired so far?
Like a year.
A year.
Yeah.
Um,
Time has a lot to do with this for you, huh?
yeah, because it's also on my motivations of like
Yeah.
or lack thereof. Like
Okay.
I didn't go seek her out. I didn't go try
Yeah.
to find her
Yeah.
in that allotted time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's out of respect for her or fear of like coming to grips with the fact that I'm not dead and putting that burden on her.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on during that year, but I'm sure the Korean drama would have done a nice little 3 minute focus on his face with no dialogue, explaining that for me. But yeah, I think I would, you know what? I would do the same thing that Suyeon would do when she saw him in America being a bodyguard. I would, if, when I first, as soon as I meet her, I
Uh-huh.
would go one tier because,
Middle tier.
and then that passive aggressively would indicate I don't have the right to
Yeah.
go up to you
Yeah.
and talk to you because I didn't try to find you, and this is by happenstance, and I don't have the right, I don't have the leg to stand on to even be worthy of talking to you. So I'm just gonna
Yeah.
stand here and get one good last look at you, and then
Yeah.
have one tear, and then leave it up to her to make that decision to whether or not she wants to engage. Um,
You know that book, The Game, right?
yeah,
You should write a version of that, but like called One Tier.
one
Yeah.
tear. And all the situations where one tier really works.
To break the awkwardness
Yeah.
of your silence. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Because
like
for
that.
sure she's gonna think the first question in her head is like in and amongst what happened.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're not dead. But I think the strongest question that would arise out of all the multiple questions is why didn't you try to find me?
Mm-hmm.
And because a year elapsed,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter what you say. There's no real, unless even if it's like I didn't want to put you in danger that you might die.
Right.
There has to be some, that's still not good enough at this
Yeah.
point. Because if they're truly in love with each other,
Right.
you send something,
Mm-hmm.
like some form of communication. You do something.
Yeah.
Um,
He's a poor communicator for sure. Like
yeah, I
on
think
multiple levels.
there are no male Korean characters in Korean dramas that are good communicators. If they
Really?
were, there'd be no Korean dramas. There'd be none.
I know. That's why they're always like, it's a misunderstanding. It's like, it's a
Yeah,
misunderstanding because y'all were not communicating. You were
yeah.
not using your fucking words.
And that's why Descendants of the Sun I thought was one of the better dramas because they did communicate.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and and granted, the song guy he didn't say everything on his mind, but
Uh-huh.
he did enough action wise and verbally to
Mm-hmm.
let her know his intentions. He was very
Yeah.
intentional with everything he did,
Yes.
which is different than most Korean dramas. Korean dramas,
Yeah.
like someone will do something to piss the other person off, and they'll
Yeah.
just stand there and just be like, oh yeah, okay. I'm mad, but I'm not going to show that I'm mad. And so there's no
Yeah.
communication involved, and it's
Yeah.
frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
That trope, I get it because it's cultural,
Mm-hmm.
but if I ever write a Korean drama, that will not be there because
Yeah.
communication is key.
Yeah. 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 Song Joong-ki, it was a very responsible kind of communicator. Like he did the best he can a lot on Descendants of the Sun. You're right, but he was also hiding a lot of things, and it was because he works for big government, and he was like, I can't tell you where
You
I'm gonna
can't,
go.
well, and what they conveniently neglected to kind of like unpack in that drama, which I know
Yeah.
they couldn't, but what they conveniently didn't like reveal or unpack is the fact that he kills people. In
Yeah.
Korea, guns are like people in Korea they could go their whole lives without seeing a gun,
Yeah.
and yet here he is on the other extreme where he
Yeah.
kills people,
Yeah.
and so they didn't really unpack that, and they made it seem like they lead happy lives, even though they kill people.
Well, there was a moment actually where she does bring it up. She's like, I feel like, my moral consciousness is getting in the way because you hurt people for a living
Mhm.
and I heal people for a living. And
Yeah,
I do feel this conflict, but it was very small moment. Yeah.
and
And they
that
didn't,
was
you're right. They did not unpack it. They kind of went brushed over it because they're hot and they want each other. And it's like, all right, but fuck morals. Let's go do something fun now, And it's like, yeah. And
do you know the timing mistake that happened at the end?
well, what
Let's say
happened?
in the last episode. So she went to that country because it was the 1 year anniversary of his death.
Okay.
But then when he
Okay.
came back, it says they were gone for 7 months or 8 months.
Oh,
And so it's like, wait a minute, the math
yeah.
doesn't add up then. So
Yeah.
it was really weird that the impetus of her going to that country was the 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
But when they came back, they were like, oh, they were gone for 7 or 8 months or something. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's
Perhaps
not,
that was an
that's not,
error on the writer's part out
yeah,
of her
or they're,
exhaustion.
yeah, because you get tired, or there's something about the way they do their, I don't know, calculations for that is different. I don't know because that's a pretty big. It was a pretty big
Yeah. 5
error.
months is a big jump.
Yeah,
Like 7 months is nowhere near a year. Like that's a five
no,
month difference.
yeah, and then I
Yeah.
love though that when she's at the place and she looks at her cacao and it was all 111, and then all of a
Hmm.
sudden all the ones disappeared.
Yeah.
But that dude took the whole plane ride to charge his phone to 1% to be able to open his phone. I'm sure he checked it right when he got his phone
Yeah.
to call her,
Yeah.
and she wasn't the first call. Her phone still worked because remember her friends called,
Uh-huh.
and so clearly her phone works.
Yeah.
And then, but he didn't bother to call her, but he called someone that knew where she was,
Yeah.
which would have to be one of her friends.
Did you write a letter to the writer Kim Eun-suk and explain all of this to
You know,
her?
she's
Because
too big. She's too big and powerful.
it seems like you feel strongly about it. I actually forgot the ending a great deal. So all of this is yeah, floating past me right now. And I haven't covered Descendants of the Sun on this podcast yet. So maybe when I do, I'll bring it back. But
It's really good. Like
yeah.
Goblin was really good.
Goblin was great. I watched
Um,
that like multiple times. Same
but
writer.
yeah. But King
Yeah,
Eternal Monarch,
bro.
because okay, I actually talked about this with Christine Ko,
Terrible.
who's a director at JTBC.
Okay.
And so she's working on the upcoming law school
Christine Cole.
as a
Okay.
B director.
Okay.
Um, so I met her on Clubhouse, and we
Yeah.
were talking, and we were talking about there were.
She's Korean American?
I think she's Korean, and then grew up in Canada, and
Okay.
then
Got it.
went to Duke.
Oh, that's so cool that she's gonna work on a Korean drama. That's
Yeah, so she's
badass.
been direct. So she worked on Knowing Brothers as a director.
Okay, I
And then,
write about that show in my dissertation, like
oh,
a
you do?
lot. Yeah. And I love that show.
Yeah,
So, oh, that's badass. Okay, cool. Yeah,
yeah.
keep
So
going.
because they were asking about Sisyphus.
Okay.
Are you watching that right now on Netflix?
No.
So I was telling them, like, I said, the thing with time travel
Uh-huh.
is it's very, very difficult
Mm.
because you run into a lot of logic issues.
Yeah, there are a lot of rules.
And King the Eternal Monarch, they didn't clearly define that it was time travel and parallel universe.
Yeah.
They didn't really clearly define that. So in the
It's like they
beginning,
would decide episode by episode what the rules are, and they would
yeah, they
be
didn't.
new ones and they would change, and I was just like, I don't care, man. You
Yeah,
know?
they needed to set up that kind of stuff. You have to set up in the beginning.
In
You
the
got to set
beginning.
it up. They didn't
Yeah.
do that. And so, but she's writing a new drama for
Mm.
Suyeon for Song Hye-kyo.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Wait, Christine Ko is.
No. The writer of
Kim
Goblin.
Eun-suk. Uh-huh.
Yeah, she's gonna. She's writing a specific drama for her.
Nice.
But I don't know because I have a feeling usually actresses and actors they want to get away from the romantic comedy stuff, and they
Uh-huh.
want to be because they want to be known as serious actors, which is all well and good. However, don't forget what brought you here.
Mm-hmm.
Is my thing because I don't know if you saw Encounter
Yeah.
with her and Park Bo-gum.
Mm-hmm.
None of the cute fun stuff that
Yeah.
people fell in love with her, and it was just serious.
Very serious.
And
It was
she
sad. She was a very
yeah,
sad character. Yeah.
lost a lot of I don't know oomph in the show.
A little bit.
And the B storyline was actually better. The B love storyline with the clam restaurant owner and her assistant.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
she's
they
just
were
also
more lively too. They were more just fun to
yeah,
watch. Yeah.
because they filled the void left
Yeah.
by Song without her doing her looks and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Without her
that
doing her looks.
her
Yeah.
assistant was in Hospital Playlist.
Yes. Yes.
Season 2's coming out
Wow,
soon.
you watch a lot of Korean dramas, Walter. I didn't realize that you watch so much. Yeah.
Because American TV is not doing very well.
Well, I mean, yeah, and Korean dramas have started to like, I mean, their production values like skyrocketed somehow in
Yeah,
the last maybe 5 years. It was just like turbo drive. Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe even more, maybe about like 8 years. Not quite 10 years, but like about 8 years it went on turbo drive. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
sure. Because
um
I watched Heirs or Inheritors, and the production value on that is like, mm,
I taught a class called is an undergraduate seminar. It's called Korean dramas on Netflix. And at the beginning of class, I asked all my students, I was like, what are your favorite dramas and what are your least favorite dramas? And almost every single one said, I hate that show Airs. They all said it. Or they were like, I hate that show Boys Over Flowers. And I was like,
mm.
man, okay, cool. Got it. Yeah.
I couldn't watch Boys Over Flowers. Like I
It is so
started it.
bad. It is like so fucking bad. And you know what? Like,
It's like number one still. It's really funny.
it's insane. But it makes sense why it's number one because it is so like ridiculously watered down. The like the realism part is so gone, right? That it would translate all over the world, that it would be like, oh yeah, they're all Korean. They look okay, like they're decent to look at.
Yeah,
There's drama and tension. This is school teenager stuff, so we all understand it, culturally. They're in a school, it's teenager kind of beef, and everybody understands like high school teenage beef, and it's like, okay, fine, so it makes sense why. But like people who watch a lot of Korean dramas are like, yeah, it's like one of the worst ones, and actually, in fact, as one of the worst ones, there's some beauty to that. The fact that it's one of the worst ones and that it's the most renowned. But anyway,
what was hard to get past was I was on swim team, and that girl's a swimmer.
wow.
But I think they're in an infinity pool.
Wait,
Which
you're
is
talking about Goblin?
No, Boys Over Flowers.
Boys Over Flowers. Okay. Huh?
I think there was an infinity pool at the high school.
Yeah.
No, you don't swim in an infinity pool. And I think I was like, what is going on? I couldn't get over that.
She's gonna do laps in the infinity pool.
Yeah.
She's gonna do butterfly strokes in the infinity pool.
Yeah, I couldn't get over that thing.
All right, and thank you for doing this podcast, man.
Thank you for having me.
Next week, we're gonna talk about a show called Personal Taste. It stars Lee Min-ho and Son Ye-jin. It is a very interesting Korean drama. It's got some LGBTQIA plus themes in there. So I'm excited to talk to you all about that. Also, I got another fan letter, so I will read that to you. Hi, Grace. I wanted to drop a quick line to say how much I appreciated your recent episode with Dr. Ji-yoon An. As a fellow academic and burgeoning K-drama fan, I so appreciated the topics that you two covered and the ways in which you did so. Even just hearing how you two think about the academic process, the job market, and how that differs across continents was super interesting. Though my field is a little different, I totally appreciated hearing what life looks like in another non-science field. The icing on top was hearing your take on Something in the Rain. It was the perfect mashup of the worlds of K-drama and academia. Thanks for letting us listen in and keep up the good work. Maggie. Thank you, Maggie. It's very kind of you to say. I appreciate it. And also, you guys, today I'm recording this on April 30th. I submitted my dissertation like 2 days ago. So that's something to celebrate, huh? Something to congratulate me on. Thank you. I will take it. I will accept it. And folks, I do have a request. If you are a man, a cis man, whoever's listening, as a cis man, please reach out to me. I want you to send me an email because I want to work on a paper about masculinity and Korean dramas. So please email me if you're interested in being interviewed. It would just be an interview offline. It would just only be for my academic project purposes. Nothing more than that. If you wish to retain your anonymity, that is totally fine. But I need to interview people. I need subjects. So if you're listening and you are cis male, that means you're born as a man and you identify as a man, then please email me at kdramaschool@gmail.com. Just put it in the subject that you are interested in partaking in my Masculinities K-drama project. Okay? Thank you. And folks, if you haven't already, just sign up, subscribe on YouTube, right? Follow me at K-Drama School on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter. Follow me on those platforms. I need followers. I mean, that's how fucking basic we are as a society. They count followers. Isn't that stupid? But that's how it goes. That's how it works in show business nowadays. They just count followers. That's how basic and stupid and dumb and pretentious our society has become. But it is what it is. All right? I'm trying to play this game. I'm trying to play this game because I know that there's no fucking money in academia. Right? Thank you for your congratulations, Maggie. But you and I both know that academics and arts and humanities don't make jack shit. All right? Academics and math and the STEM fields, all of their starting salaries are like close to 6 figures. For arts and humanities, man, it's like a fourth of that starting salary. No lie. All right. And I was just kind of recounting this in my therapy session the other day, but I just realized like I've been making pretty much the same amount of money since like age 22. And that's sad as fuck. That's sad as fuck. All right. I can't believe how many hours I work all the time and constantly, and yet I just don't have money in the bank. And that level of discontentment is really starting to eat away at me. It's eating away at my soul. That's all, you guys. Thank you for listening every week. Tune in next week, and yeah, be well. Take care. Ta-ta.